104.5 The Team. We're joined by our friend Josh Sims from Fox 46 in Charlotte. The big scuttlebutt is that Cam Newton is a crybaby, a poor sport, a terrible human being, and he may have kicked a hamster. What are your thoughts on Cam not handling the press conference so well?
Well, I cannot deny or confirm the hamster, but I do know when we were in that post-game press conference, Cam was, very down. His demeanor was the old Cam Newton that people used to criticize, when he first came into the league. He had the hoodie on. He was moping. He really gave 1 to 2 word answers for the most part. I think maybe up there for 4 minutes total, and that's kind of an estimate, and I think he gave one answer out of all those that was like a sentence, but he just kept saying like 1 or 2 word answers and just kept pouting, and it really was kind of, I with me covering the team this year, I hadn't yet seen this version of Cam Newton. Like, you knew this is how he used to react to losses, but this was the first time I actually saw it in up close and personal, and it's hard to tell whether he was being a very poor sport or whether he just took it way too hard. The critics of Cam are going to say, hey, it's a poor sport. Those who support Cam are going to say, like, hey, man, he just wanted to win so bad. So, it's hard to tell, but from the reaction that I got was him kind of just, you got to face the music. Win or lose, good or bad, everyone goes through it. And it didn't seem like he really stepped up to the plate and kind of faced the music. The other players did. Luke was up there for a long time. The Greg Olsons, the other guys on the team, they answered the questions. Even Josh Norman, who took forever to come out, answered the questions. But, Cam was something different yesterday.
Josh, when I look at this, I take the opposite approach of what most people do. I kind of like the fact that he's not a robot. I like that you lose the biggest game of your career, you're broken up about it. Is that going to be the overall consensus from Carolina?
From Carolina, I could say that'll probably be the overall consensus. But, I mean, actually, no, I don't even want to say that, because even some of the beat writers that have been, covering him all year long were kind of ripping him yesterday in their articles that they wrote. And I think a lot of people, from what I was reading and the tweets and their articles that came out this morning, they kind of ripped Cam a little bit for how he reacted. So, I see it both ways. I see the way you see it, that, you like to see someone who's, so emotional that they take it that way. But you also he cut the press conference short. He got up and walked out before it was basically even done. And, that's not something you're supposed to do. And you kind of expect him to, you take it hard, but, it's part of the job.
Josh, on the field, the offensive line struggled, turnovers, bad on third down. Where did it go wrong the most for Carolina yesterday?
Yeah, it seemed kind of like, and I was just talking to Anthony, the sports director at Fox 46 WJZY, who I work with, and it was one of those things where it seemed like they were good to go, and then when Cam took that first hit on the strip sack, Von Miller, like, everything changed. It was like everyone, the old Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, and that kind of just rattled them a little bit. They weren't the same after that, and maybe there were some jitters, who knows, but, you haven't seen them drop the ball like they did. Jericho Cotchery had, great hands all season long, and he had that, bobbled 2 catches. Ted Ginn, he's always had a problem with that, but, one of those interceptions was on him. And then, the offensive line, a lot of them with the false starts, that's something we weren't accustomed to seeing with this Panthers team. And you just wonder if the moment may have got to them, or maybe it was just that Broncos defense, to be honest with you. It can go either way.
Josh Sims from Fox 46 in Charlotte joining us right here on 104.5 The Team.
Josh, Ron Rivera didn't seem to live up to the Riverboat Ron name yesterday. Seems like the Panthers cost themselves some points at the end of the first half. He had some questionable challenges early. What did you see?
Yeah, it was tough because I felt, the play calling was a little questionable because he felt like they kept running into a brick wall basically and not changing. I don't blame him for the Cotchery challenge because, from my perspective where I was standing, and they had it up on the big screen, it looked like a catch. I mean, I don't know what the broadcast on CBS looked like, but, that's something that he would have had another challenge if that had gone his way, and, it just didn't. Some of the other challenges, the Peyton Manning challenge, that one, also. But, they tried maybe one trick play, which was the one where, Ted Ginn was going to throw it back to Cam Newton. It looked like that was going to happen. But other than that, the play calling was pretty vanilla, you know?
Josh, what is the overall consensus on this team? It's still a pretty young nucleus. Do you feel like they're just going to reload and come back?
Yeah, I mean, from most of the players, they were saying, you know, I think Roman Harper put it best when it's like, you know, there's a silver lining of this. He's like, at this point, I don't know what it is, but, you know, there's a silver lining in this loss that they've learned something. They got that experience. And a lot of players pointed towards the fact that the Broncos were in this very same situation 2 years ago, losing in the Super Bowl, and you saw they were able to retool and come back and win a Super Bowl 2 years later. This Panthers team is, you know, young. You know, they have the nucleus back. You got the Kuechly's. You got, you know, Cam is still there. Greg Olsen. You got all the big name players really there. That, you know, who's to say this team can't make a run? And, you know, Cam Newton's young. Maybe he needed this sort of humbleizing moment yesterday to sort of learn what it takes to be a champion.
Josh Norman is a free agent. Are they going to be able to bring him back?
Yeah, that's been a question. And the thing with Dave Gettleman is he does not, you know, talk contracts during the season. So we would always, you know, ask him like, you know, what's going to go on with Josh Norman? What are you guys trying to do? And he's like, you know, my policy, I don't talk contracts during the season. You know, obviously they like what he did and they want to keep him. You just wonder what the free agent market's going to be because, you know, someone might end up throwing a ton of money at him. And for a guy like Josh Norman that, you know, basically feels he wasn't supposed to be here, you know, at a coastal Carolina small school and made a name for himself this year, you wouldn't kind of blame him if he goes out and chases the money. But, you know, he's also like a Carolina kid. So you wonder if, you know, he likes this team and likes where they are. I mean, he took that loss hard yesterday. You know, I'm sure the broadcast showed him on the sideline in near tears. Maybe he was in tears. But, you know, the priorities are most likely going to be him. And, you know, they got K'Wan Short, who balled out this year. So he's got 1 year left on his deal. Those will be the two guys that you really want to, you know, make sure are around next year and going forward.
Josh Sims of Fox 46 in Charlotte breaking down the Panthers for us. Clearly in the airport, how different is San Francisco today as opposed to yesterday?
It's funny. It's like a mass exodus. The airport where I am right now is a ton of Broncos jerseys. There's a ton of people in Carolina Panthers gear because I just don't think they brought anything else to wear. So they were assuming they'd be flying home and flaunting their Panthers victory gear, and they're, you know, kind of like going through the motions as they walk through the airport, heads down, people disappointed. You know, you can see the Broncos fans. You know, they have this air of, hey, we kind of took you guys down and kind of silenced the critics. So it's very, very different than what I expected. I expected to be flying out with a Panthers win, honestly.
Well, Josh, we look forward to connecting with you as, you know, training camp's going away and for the Panthers in the not too distant future. I mean, before we know it, it'll be training camp. Everybody will be putting the soft shells on and hitting again.
Right. I can't believe that. It's going to be the shortest off season ever.
All right, Josh Sims, Fox 46. Thanks so much for being there for us.